This is TradeFlow News, bringing you relevant news and insights from around the world. TradeFlow News, enabling trade for SMEs and economies worldwide.
These are some of the key topics that we will be looking into in today's program.
First, let's take a look at the overnight headlines which are impacting the commodity markets. The U.S. Department of Energy said on Friday it will sell 18 million barrels of crude oil from its Strategic Petroleum Reserve, SPR, on December 17, as part of a previous plan to try to reduce gasoline prices. The Biden administration announced last month it would release about 50 million barrels from its reserves in conjunction with other consumer countries including China, India and South Korea to combat the rising cost of fuel. The White House has been trying to deal with Americans' worries about high fuel costs and inflation as drivers emerge from the pandemic, even though the president has few tools to deal with the price of crude, a global market influenced by numerous factors.
The Biden administration has ordered U.S. government agencies to immediately stop financing new carbon-intensive fossil fuel projects overseas and prioritize global collaborations to deploy clean energy technology, according to U.S. diplomatic cables. The cables, seen by Reuters, say U.S. government engagements should reflect the goals set in an executive order issued at the start of the year aimed at ending American financial support of coal and carbon-intensive energy projects overseas. The goal of the policy is to ensure that the vast majority of U.S. international energy engagements promote clean energy, advance innovative technologies, boost U.S. cleantech competitiveness, and support net zero transitions, a cable said.
Moving on to the top news in the energy sector.
Saudi Aramco has notified at least 2 North Asian buyers that it will supply full contractual volumes of crude oil in January, 2 sources with knowledge of the matter said on Friday. Most buyers were allocated full volumes, one of the sources said. The allocations come after Saudi Arabia raised its official selling prices, OSPs, for all crude grades sold to key market Asia for a second straight month in January, tracking robust gains in Middle East spot market last month.
Oil prices rose slightly on Friday and posted their biggest weekly gain since late August, with market sentiment buoyed by easing concerns over the Omicron coronavirus variant's impact on global economic growth and fuel demand. The Brent and U.S. West Texas Intermediate (WTI) crude benchmarks each posted gains of about 8% this week, their first weekly gain in 7, even after a brief bout of profit-taking. Brent futures settled up 73 cents, or 1%, at $75.15 a barrel, after falling 1.9% on Thursday. WTI rose 73 cents, or 1%, to $71.67 after sliding 2% in a volatile session the previous day.
Next, we have the top news in metal markets.
Major copper miners and Chinese smelters have moved closer to agreement on treatment and refining charges, TC/RC, for 2022, 2 sources with knowledge of the talks said on Friday. TC/RCs are paid by miners to smelters to process copper concentrate into refined metal. The first settlement between a major miner and a smelter in top copper consumer China in annual negotiations usually becomes the benchmark for the year ahead and has a large role in determining profitability. The 2 sides are $8 a ton apart on where they would like the treatment charge benchmark to be, with smelters seeking around $69 a ton and miners $61, a mining source said.
Gold gained on Friday as its safe haven appeal was boosted by elevated U.S. consumer prices, which also cooled some bets for aggressive interest rate hikes since the jump in inflation was not as big as expected. Spot gold rose 0.5% to $1,782.44 per ounce at 1:38 p.m. Eastern Time, 18:38 GMT, having dropped for the past 2 sessions. U.S. gold futures settled up 0.5% at $1,784.80. The latest inflation report did not come in as hot as some were expecting, and that should keep Federal Reserve rate hike expectations between 2 or 3 rate hikes in 2022, Edward Moya, senior market analyst at brokerage OANDA, said. We will now look at the top news in the agricultural sector. Chinese buyers have been making large purchases of French wheat and barley along with Ukrainian corn and barley in the last week, trade sources said. taking advantage of a pause in surging prices to cover some of their feed grain needs. While the total volumes bought were not yet clear, the sources said importers had secured at least several 100,000 tons of grain from France and Ukraine. The Chinese buyers also made major purchases of Australian feed wheat that again represented at least several 100,000 tons, some of the sources added.
That is all for today's news on commodity markets. Stay tuned to TradeFlow News as we continue to provide you with more updates. We also invite you to follow us on Twitter at TradeFlow News, which allows you to watch our program on your mobile device or desktop to receive information from there.